Beloved, your soulmate has reached a point where they can no longer keep their marriage plans hidden behind vague answers, family expectations, and private thoughts. Something is becoming real. Conversations have started. Questions have been asked. People around your soulmate want answers about their future. And your soulmate knows that very soon, they may have to say out loud what they have only admitted privately. Who do they actually want to marry? That question has changed everything. Because when your soulmate imagines marriage now, there is one face they keep seeing. Yours. But before your heart races, understand this clearly. Thinking about marriage and being ready for marriage are not the same thing. A powerful connection does not automatically create a healthy future. Your soulmate may have strong feelings, but what matters now is whether those feelings become honesty, consistency, responsibility, and real choices. And this is exactly what your soulmate has been confronting. For a long time, they could avoid the subject. If family asked, "When are you going to settle down?" your soulmate laughed. "Someday." If friends asked, "Is there someone?" they changed the subject. Maybe they said, "It's complicated." Perhaps they acted as though marriage was not important to them. But recently the questions became more serious. Someone close to your soulmate may have said, "You need to start thinking about your future." And this time your person did not laugh. They became quiet. Because they had been thinking about it. More than anyone knew. Perhaps there is already pressure around them. Maybe family members have started suggesting people. Perhaps photographs have been shown. Names mentioned. Someone may have said, "This person would be perfect for you." Your soulmate listened politely. But every time someone described the kind of person they should marry, something strange happened. They compared that description with you. She's understanding. Your soulmate thought about how you once understood their moods before they explained anything. She's loyal. They remembered your patience. She's independent. They thought about how you eventually chose your own peace rather than begging them forever. She has a good heart. Your name appeared again. The comparisons became uncomfortable. Because your soulmate realized that perhaps they had spent too much time looking for qualities elsewhere that they had already experienced with you. But there is another side to this. You were not perfect. Neither were they. The relationship between you may have contained confusion, distance, fear, or unresolved hurt. Your soulmate remembers that too. They are not imagining a fantasy where marriage magically fixes everything. At least, if they have grown, they should not. Instead, they are asking something deeper. If I ever built a marriage with them, what would have to be different from what we had before? That question has become serious. Your soulmate may have once focused only on feelings. Do I love them? Do they love me? Do I miss them? Now they are asking adult questions. Can I communicate when I am afraid? Can we solve disagreements without disappearing? Can I make them feel secure without feeling controlled? Can I support their dreams? Can I be consistent after the excitement settles? Can I stand beside this person publicly and clearly? Those questions are changing your soulmate. Perhaps marriage has always frightened them. Not because they never wanted love. Because marriage represents permanence, responsibility, being fully known. There is nowhere to hide indefinitely inside a real partnership. Your soulmate may have imagined marriage as losing freedom. Maybe they saw difficult marriages growing up. Perhaps people around them stayed together while becoming emotionally distant. Your soulmate thought, I never want that. So they avoided commitment. But avoiding commitment created its own damage. They may have lost you partly because they were so afraid of being trapped that they never gave the connection enough security to breathe. Now your soulmate is realizing something. Healthy marriage is not being trapped by another person. It is choosing someone while remaining responsible for your own identity. It is two people saying, I am here because I want to be. That feels different. And perhaps, for the first time, your soulmate can imagine that kind of commitment with you. Something recently made them admit it. Maybe a family member asked, if you could choose anyone without worrying about what people think, who would you choose? Your soulmate became completely still. They did not answer. But someone noticed their expression. There's already someone, isn't there? Your soulmate tried to laugh. The person continued, there is. Silence. Then perhaps, is it the person you never talk about anymore? That question hit. Because your soulmate may have stopped saying your name precisely because your name still carried too much emotion. Sometimes the people we mention least are not the people who matter least. They are the people whose names reveal too much. Your soulmate finally admitted, yes. Maybe only that. One word. But it changed the conversation. The person asked, then why aren't you with them? Your soulmate looked away. How could they explain? Fear. Timing. Miscommunication. Pride. Complications. Maybe they hurt you. Perhaps you walked away. Maybe your soulmate let you because they believed there would always be another opportunity. The explanation sounded weak once spoken aloud. Your soulmate may have said, I messed it up. The person asked, do you still love them? Again, silence. Then perhaps, yes. Your soulmate heard their own answer. And suddenly the marriage discussions around them felt different. Because they had finally said the truth to another human being. They still loved you. Or at least still carried feelings strong enough that the idea of marrying someone else felt dishonest. That does not mean they are entitled to you. It means they need to stop pretending their heart is completely free when it may not be. Perhaps family has been considering another match. Your soulmate may have been tempted to agree. Not because they were deeply interested. Because saying yes would end the questions. Everyone would be happy. The future would appear organized. Your soulmate could tell themselves, this is the sensible choice. But then they imagined the wedding. Standing beside someone else. Family smiling. Photos being taken. promises being made. And suddenly one thought terrified them. What if I still think about them? What if they married another person while carrying unresolved feelings for you? That would be unfair. To the new person. To you. To themselves. Your soulmate may finally understand that marriage should not be used as a way to escape unfinished emotions. You cannot marry your way out of grief. A ring does not automatically erase someone from your heart. Commitment to a new person should begin with emotional honesty. So perhaps your soulmate said no to something. Or asked for time. Family may not understand. They may say, "You keep delaying." Your soulmate knows. But for once, perhaps the delay is not coming only from fear. It may be coming from a desire not to make another major decision dishonestly. Still, your soulmate also knows they cannot remain suspended forever. They cannot reject every possibility while secretly hoping you somehow return. That would be another form of avoidance. So they have reached a crossroads. Either they speak to you honestly, or they begin genuinely releasing the idea of a future with you. This is why a confession is coming. Not necessarily, "Marry me tomorrow." That would be too much. The real confession may sound more like, "When I think about marriage, I think about you." That sentence alone could change the entire connection. Your soulmate may have practiced saying it. Perhaps privately. Maybe while driving. They imagine your reaction. You might become emotional. Maybe angry. Perhaps you ask, "Why are you telling me this now?" Fair. Your soulmate needs an answer. They cannot simply say, "Because you're my soulmate." That may sound romantic. But you deserve more. Why now? Maybe the truth is, because people started asking me seriously about marriage, and I realized I could not answer honestly without admitting that my heart still goes back to you. That is more grounded. Perhaps they continue, "I know that doesn't mean you want the same future anymore." Important. I know I waited. Even more important. But I don't want to build something permanent with someone else while leaving the truth unsaid between us. That could be the confession. Perhaps your heart immediately remembers everything. There may have been a time when you wanted exactly these words. Maybe you imagined your soulmate saying, "I choose you." You waited. They remained uncertain. Eventually, you had to become stronger without the answer. Now the answer may be arriving. Late. Late answers can be complicated. They may bring relief. And grief. You might think, "Why couldn't you know this when I needed you to know?" Your soulmate may not have a perfect explanation. Maybe they were not ready. Sometimes people do not understand what they want until the possibility of a permanent alternative appears. But this does not mean you are required to reward delayed clarity. Your soulmate knows, or needs to know, that. Perhaps they tell you, "I'm not asking you to say yes to marriage." Good. I'm asking whether there is still enough between us to have an honest conversation about the future. That is healthier. a conversation, then reality. Because perhaps your soulmate's marriage plans have become less about a wedding and more about the type of relationship they want to build. They may have begun creating a private list. Not a superficial list. Not height, appearance, status. Things that actually matter. I want someone I can speak honestly with. I want someone who understands me but also challenges me. I want someone with their own life. I want loyalty. I want emotional peace. I want someone I can laugh with after a difficult day. And perhaps while writing each line, your soulmate realized, you had offered many of those things. But something else became clear too. They had not always offered them back. They wanted communication. Yet sometimes they disappeared. They wanted trust. Yet sometimes their inconsistency created doubt. They wanted emotional safety. Yet perhaps you spent too much time wondering where you stood. This realization has forced your soulmate to ask a more important question. Not, would you make a good spouse? But, would I? That question may be changing them. Because marriage is not about finding someone perfect enough to tolerate your unhealed patterns. It is about becoming responsible enough to participate in a partnership. Your soulmate may finally be examining themselves. Can they apologize without defending everything? Can they hear, "You hurt me," without immediately replying, "But you hurt me too"? Can they communicate when stressed? Can they allow you independence without treating it like rejection? Can they remain affectionate when they feel secure, not only when they are afraid of losing you? These are marriage questions. And your soulmate is beginning to understand that the future depends on them learning these things. Maybe they have been speaking with someone older. A person whose marriage they respect. Your soulmate asked, "How do you know when someone is the person you should marry?" Perhaps they expected a romantic answer. Instead, the person said, "Pay attention to who you can tell the truth to." Your soulmate immediately thought of you. But then another thought followed. Could they actually tell you the truth? In the past, perhaps not enough. You were someone they wanted to be honest with. Yet they still hid because they feared your reaction. The older person may have said, "And if you are too afraid to be honest with someone, you're not ready to marry them yet." That hit harder. Because your soulmate may want you deeply. But desire is not readiness. They need to become capable of the honesty marriage requires. This may be why they are preparing to confess now. They are practicing. Not with small talk. With the biggest thing. The future. Perhaps your soulmate writes a message. "I need to tell you something." They delete it. Too alarming. Then, "Can I ask you something about the future?" Delete. Too strange. Finally, "I've had some serious conversations about marriage lately, and they made me realize there's something I should tell you." That might be the message. Your heart races when you read it. Marriage? Did they get engaged? Are they telling you goodbye? Your mind may immediately imagine the worst. But the next line changes everything. I realized I couldn't honestly talk about marrying someone else without thinking about what happened between us. You stop. Your soulmate continues. I don't know what you feel now. Good. They are not assuming. But I know I need to be honest about what I feel. Then, when I imagine the person I want beside me in the life I'm trying to build, I still imagine you. That is the confession. Perhaps you read it twice. Maybe 5 times. The version of you from the past would have melted immediately. But you have changed. Perhaps your first thought is, do you imagine me, or do you imagine the version of me who always waited? Important distinction. Your soulmate may love a memory. You need them to know the person you are now. Perhaps you answer, you don't know who I am now. Your soulmate pauses. Then, you're right. Good answer. Maybe, I want to know. Better. This is where fantasy begins becoming reality. Your soulmate may have been imagining marriage with someone they remember. But people change. You may have new goals. New boundaries. Different priorities. Perhaps you no longer want the same future. Your soulmate has to discover that. They cannot simply return with a marriage fantasy and expect you to fit inside it. Maybe you want to travel. Perhaps you are focused on career. Maybe you want children. Maybe you do not. Perhaps your views on marriage itself have changed. A mature soulmate asks. They do not assume. Maybe the first real marriage conversation between you is surprisingly practical. What kind of life do you want? Your soulmate asks. You answer. Perhaps they are surprised. Maybe some of your dreams have changed. They listen. Then you ask, what do you want? This time, your soulmate cannot answer based on family expectations. They have to answer for themselves. Perhaps, I want a peaceful home. You ask, what does peaceful mean to you? Good question. Because peaceful cannot mean, you never challenge me. Healthy peace is not silence. Perhaps your soulmate says, a place where we can disagree without making each other feel like everything is ending. That sounds more mature. Maybe, I want us to be able to tell the truth even when it's uncomfortable. Important. I want both of us to have our own goals and still feel like a team. Good. This becomes real. Then comes the difficult part. You ask, if you wanted that with me, why did you treat the connection so uncertainly before? Your soulmate has to face it. Maybe, I was afraid. You have heard that before. Perhaps you respond, fear isn't enough of an explanation anymore. Fair. Your soulmate thinks. Then, I was afraid, and instead of communicating my fear, I made you carry the consequences of it. Different. That is accountability. They continue, I kept waiting until I felt completely sure before giving you security. I understand now that relationships don't work that way. Perhaps they finally learned that certainty often grows through mutual effort. You cannot demand certainty before participating. Maybe your soulmate wanted proof you would never leave before fully choosing you. But perhaps you left because they never fully chose. The fear created the outcome. Your soulmate sees it now. This is why marriage plans are forcing such a deep awakening. Marriage requires choosing before every unknown is solved. Nobody knows exactly what the next 30 years will bring. Commitment is not certainty about circumstances. It is intention about how you will respond together. Your soulmate may finally understand. Perhaps their family has been saying, "You need someone reliable." Your soulmate has begun asking themselves, "Am I reliable?" This self-reflection matters. Maybe they once focused entirely on whether you were right for them. Now they are asking whether they can become right for the kind of partnership they want. They may have started changing practical things too. Finances, career, living situation, health, responsibilities. Perhaps marriage used to feel impossible because their life was unstable. Now they are trying to build stability. Not necessarily only for you. For themselves. That is healthier. Because they should not become functional solely to win you. Growth needs to remain even if you eventually say no. Perhaps your soulmate has begun saving money. Maybe considering where they want to live. Taking work more seriously. They may be imagining the responsibilities of a shared future. And every time they picture that future, your presence appears. Again. You. But this time the fantasy is less dramatic. Maybe they imagine breakfast. Grocery shopping. You complaining about something small. Them laughing. A difficult week. Supporting each other. Family visits. Ordinary life. That is significant. Perhaps before, your soulmate mainly fantasized about intense reunion. Kissing. Confessions. Passion. Now they think about ordinary days. That may indicate they are considering partnership, not merely longing. But beloved, even beautiful ordinary fantasies are still fantasies until tested by real compatibility. You both need conversations. How do you handle money? Family boundaries? Faith? Children? Work? Privacy? Conflict? Where will you live? These things are not boring details surrounding love. They are where marriage actually happens. Your soulmate may finally be ready for those questions. Maybe they once avoided them because serious conversation felt like pressure. Now they may be the one bringing them up. That is a real shift. But there may be another secret inside the marriage plans. Your soulmate may already have told someone in their family about you. Perhaps this is the part they are most nervous to confess. For a long time, maybe their family barely knew you existed. Or they knew only a vague version. Someone I used to talk to. Nothing serious. Recently, your soulmate may have corrected the story. Someone brought up marriage again. Your person finally said, "There is someone." Family became interested. Who? Your soulmate hesitated. Then said your name. Maybe the room became quiet. Someone recognized it. Perhaps they had heard about you before. A parent asked, "Are you still talking?" Your soulmate admitted, "No," confusion. Then why are you talking about marriage with them? Fair question. Your soulmate answered, "Because I realized I never stopped imagining a future with them." The family may not have reacted the way they hoped. Maybe someone said, "Then why did you let them go?" Your soulmate had no good answer. Another asked, "Do they even want you?" Again, "I don't know." Your soulmate was forced to hear how strange the situation sounded. Planning emotionally around someone they had not even spoken with honestly. This may have been the moment they realized, "I need to talk to you before discussing you with everyone else." Not gather family approval first. Not make plans around you without you. Talk to you. Because perhaps your soulmate has historically made decisions involving you without including you. They assumed what you wanted. Assumed how you would react. Assumed you would wait. This time, if marriage is even going to become a possibility, you need a voice from the beginning. Your soulmate may be preparing to say, "I told my family about you." You might be shocked. Maybe even upset. Why would you do that before speaking to me? Fair. Your soulmate should understand. Perhaps they say, "You're right. I should have spoken to you first." That acknowledgement matters. They need to stop treating you as a character in a future they design privately. You are a participant. No marriage plan exists until both people choose it. Perhaps your soulmate's family is conservative or traditional. Maybe approval matters strongly. There could be cultural expectations. Your person may be afraid the family will resist. This could be another reason they hesitated before. Maybe they thought, "What if I choose them and my family refuses?" So instead of risking conflict, they never fully chose. Now marriage discussions have forced the issue anyway. They may realize that if they want an adult partnership, they need healthy boundaries with family. Respecting family does not mean allowing family to control every relationship decision. Your soulmate may finally be learning to say, "I value your opinion, but the person I marry is a decision I have to live with." That could be enormous growth. Perhaps they had never said something like that before. Family becomes quiet. Someone may accuse them of changing. Maybe they have. Perhaps loving you exposed how much they had been living for approval. Your soulmate now has to decide whether they can build a marriage while remaining emotionally dependent on everyone else's permission. That would become difficult for any spouse. If family disagrees with you later, will your soulmate stand beside you respectfully? Not blindly, but fairly. Will they keep private relationship problems private instead of inviting 10 people into every disagreement? These are marriage skills too. Maybe your soulmate is thinking about them. Perhaps they know you would never want to marry into a situation where your partner cannot create boundaries. So they are preparing themselves. Again, let them demonstrate this. Do not accept, "My family will eventually understand." Ask, "What are you doing to create clear boundaries?" Actions. Perhaps your soulmate says, I've already told them I won't consider another match until I know whether there is anything real left between us. That may sound romantic. But be careful. You did not ask them to pause their entire life. They made that choice. Do not let it become pressure. A healthier framing would be, I decided I shouldn't involve another person while I am emotionally unresolved. That is their responsibility. Then perhaps they add, if you tell me there is no future, I will respect that and eventually move forward. Good. Because your soulmate's marriage plans cannot become emotional leverage. I rejected everyone for you, so you owe me. No. That is not love. They must choose honesty regardless of your answer. Perhaps your soulmate has learned this. The confession may include, I'm not asking you to promise marriage. I'm asking whether you would be willing to see if we can build towards something real. That is a much better beginning. You may say, I need time. Your soulmate should respect it. Perhaps there was a time when your uncertainty would trigger them. They would think, they don't want me enough. Now maybe they understand. You have reasons to be careful. Your soulmate's delay created consequences. They need patience. Maybe you agree to talk. Weeks pass. The conversations become deeper. At some point, you discuss the past. Not endlessly. But enough. Your soulmate apologizes specifically. They do not say, sorry for everything. They say, I'm sorry I disappeared when you were trying to understand me. I'm sorry I let pride decide who reached out first. I'm sorry I expected loyalty while giving uncertainty. Specific apologies help rebuild trust. You share your part too. Perhaps you sometimes reacted intensely. Maybe fear made you push for answers at moments when your soulmate felt overwhelmed. You can acknowledge that without taking responsibility for everything. Both people can grow. Then perhaps the subject of marriage returns. This time, not through family. Between you. Your soulmate says, I don't want marriage because I'm afraid of losing you. Important. Because fear can make people rush. They may think, if we marry, I'll finally know they can't leave. That is not healthy. Marriage should not become a cage for insecurity. Perhaps your soulmate says, I want marriage because I want to build a life where both of us keep choosing each other. Better. You ask, what happens when things get hard? Your soulmate thinks. We talk before we make assumptions. Good. What if you need space? I tell you how much space I need and when we'll reconnect. Good. What if your family disagrees with me? I listen to them, but decisions about our relationship stay between us. Important. What if I become successful in ways that change my life? I support you instead of treating your growth like a threat. That answer may matter deeply. Perhaps your soulmate once feared you outgrowing them. Now they understand a spouse should celebrate your expansion, not ask you to shrink. You ask, what if we disagree about money? We make a plan together. ordinary, healthy. This may be the most romantic conversation of all. Not because it sounds dramatic. Because you are finally speaking about reality. Your soulmate may have dreamed of standing beside you at a wedding. But now they are thinking beyond the wedding. Marriage begins after everyone leaves. After the music stops. After the photographs. Can two people build daily trust? That is the real question. Your soulmate may finally be ready to think that way. Perhaps they tell you, I used to want the feeling of forever. Now I understand forever is built from ordinary days. That could reveal real growth. But beloved, there is another possibility. You may hear their confession and realize you no longer want marriage with them. Maybe you still love them. But your vision changed. You may say, I once wanted that future with you. I'm not sure I do anymore. Your soulmate will be hurt. But if they are ready for marriage emotionally, they should also be ready to respect another adult's autonomy. No begging. No guilt. No, but I finally chose you. They can say, I understand. Maybe, I wish I had understood sooner. Painful. But dignified. Perhaps they ask whether there is anything that could change your mind. You decide whether that question feels appropriate. Maybe you say, I need to see who you are now. Then they show you. Or, no. My heart moved on. Then your soulmate accepts. This is why confession matters even without guarantee. Truth gives both people a real life again. No more hidden future. Maybe your soulmate has been secretly designing a marriage that only exists in their mind. That cannot continue. They need your truth. Perhaps this realization is why they are about to confess. They are tired of imagining your answer. They want reality. Maybe the message finally arrives. Can we talk? You ask, about what? There is a pause. Then, marriage. Your heart stops for a second. Your soulmate immediately adds, not to pressure you. Good. I've been having conversations about my future, and I realized I need to tell you something before I make any decisions. Then perhaps, I still imagine that future with you. There it is. You become quiet. Your soulmate waits. They do not immediately fill the silence. That itself may be growth. You are allowed to process. Perhaps you ask, are you saying you want to marry me? Your soulmate answers carefully. I'm saying that if we can rebuild something healthy and if you still want the same kind of future, you are the person I would want to build toward marriage with. That answer is different from impulsive proposal. It respects the work required. Maybe you appreciate that. Perhaps you ask, what made you realize this? Your soulmate tells you. The family conversations. The suggested matches. Imagining other futures. Realizing your name remained. Then perhaps they say, but I also realize that missing you is not enough. I have to become someone capable of being a good partner. This could be the most important part. Because perhaps you were tired of being loved intensely but inconsistently. Now they are talking about partnership. They tell you what they have been changing. You listen. Do not judge only the speech. Observe the weeks afterward. If they are serious about marriage, they should be serious about reliability. Perhaps they start showing more structure. Clear plans. No sudden emotional disappearance. When they say, "Let's meet Saturday," they follow through. If something changes, they tell you. You begin learning whether their marriage confession is grounded. Maybe they ask to meet your family eventually. But not immediately. First, both of you need clarity. Then perhaps families. No need to create public expectations before private trust exists. Your soulmate may once have allowed too many outside people into the relationship. This time, they want to protect the process. Not hide you. Protect. There is a difference. Secrecy means pretending you do not exist. Privacy means giving something fragile enough room to develop before turning it into public discussion. Your soulmate may finally understand. Perhaps months pass. The relationship is better. Not perfect. There are disagreements. But something is different. No disappearing. No weeks of uncertainty. You both learn. One night, your soulmate brings up marriage again. Not dramatic. Perhaps while having dinner. They say, "Do you still see marriage in your future?" You answer honestly. Maybe yes. Your soulmate asks, "With me?" Your heart becomes quiet. This is the real moment. Not because of suspense. Because now you have evidence. Months of behavior. Did they show up? Did they respect you? Did they communicate? Did your life feel bigger with them, not smaller? Perhaps the answer is yes. Then maybe you smile. Possibly. Your soulmate laughs. Possibly. You say, "You made me wait." You can survive possibly. Both of you laugh. Maybe this is healing. The relationship no longer feels like a courtroom. It feels like partnership. Perhaps eventually, a proposal happens. If so, let it be meaningful. Not because an audience expects it. Not because family pressure created a deadline. Your soulmate knows you well enough to choose something that reflects your actual relationship. Maybe private. Maybe surrounded by family. Whatever fits you both. But the proposal itself should not be the miracle. The miracle, if you want to call it that, is all the ordinary work that made yes feel safe. The honest conversations. The apologies. The changed patterns. The consistency. That is what creates marriage. Or perhaps things go another way. Maybe while rebuilding, you both realize love exists but marriage would not be compatible. Different life goals. Different values. Perhaps your soulmate wants children and you do not. Maybe location becomes impossible. Perhaps something fundamental differs. Then love must face reality. Do not force marriage simply because the connection is powerful. A mature soulmate can say, "I love you, but I respect what you want for your life." Sometimes that means release. This is why marriage plans need more than emotion. They need alignment. Perhaps your soulmate is finally understanding this too. Their confession may not be, "I already planned our entire wedding." It may be more meaningful, "I want to find out whether the two of us could actually build a marriage that is good for both of us." That is an invitation to reality. You decide whether to explore. Beloved, perhaps there is one more thing your soulmate has been hiding. They have imagined saying your name when someone asks, "Who do you want to marry?" They have imagined the reaction. Some people may smile. Others may be shocked. Perhaps someone disapproves. Your soulmate used to fear that. Now they are asking, "If everyone disagreed, would I still be able to stand beside my choice?" This is a significant test. A marriage partner needs to know they are not going to be abandoned whenever outside pressure rises. Your soulmate may finally be building that backbone. Perhaps they tell family, "I'm not asking you to decide for me." Strong. But I want your blessing. Respectful. This balance matters. Maybe the family eventually agrees. Maybe not immediately. Your soulmate must remain calm. They cannot turn every disagreement into war. Boundaries can exist without cruelty. Perhaps this is part of what marriage readiness looks like. They are learning how to stand in their own decisions without destroying every relationship around them. And perhaps you are doing the same. You may have people who distrust your soulmate because they remember how hurt you were. Fair. If you decide to explore the relationship again, those people may question you. You need to be able to say, "I understand your concern. I'm watching the behavior too." Do not isolate yourself from everyone for the relationship. Healthy love can tolerate wise outside perspective. But the final decision still belongs to you. Perhaps your soulmate's biggest fear is that your family or friends will say, "Don't go back." They know they created reasons for people to worry. Instead of becoming angry, they may need to accept that trust must be rebuilt publicly too. Not through convincing everyone. Through treating you well long enough that people notice the difference. That is maturity. Maybe your soulmate says, "I don't expect the people who saw you hurting to trust me immediately." That may impress you. Because they finally understand consequences extend beyond the two of you. Your pain affected people who loved you. Now your soulmate has to live differently. No demand for instant forgiveness. Just consistency. Beloved, perhaps the strongest line in your soulmate's eventual confession will not be, "I want to marry you." Perhaps it will be, "I want to become someone you could safely choose." Think about that. Not pressure. Responsibility. They know you may love them and still decide they are not safe enough for marriage. So they are not only asking for your heart. They are preparing to earn your trust. That is a different kind of love. One less focused on possession. More focused on partnership. Maybe your soulmate writes to you tonight, "I've been thinking seriously about marriage." You read, "I thought I needed to find the right person. Then, I realized I also need to become the right kind of partner." You pause. Perhaps this already sounds different. Then, and when I ask myself who I would want to do that work beside, I keep thinking about you. There it is. Not, "You are destined to marry me." But, "I choose to explore this with you, if you choose it too." Freedom. That is important. The healthiest marriage confession does not remove your ability to say no. It strengthens it. Because genuine commitment only means something when both people are free. Your soulmate may finally understand that. Perhaps they say, "I want a future with you." You respond, "I need to know you want the real me, not an idea." They say, "I do." You answer, "Then learn me again." That could become the beginning. Learn your dreams, your fears, your boundaries, the way you changed while apart. Perhaps you are less available emotionally at first. Let trust develop. Your soulmate must not punish you for needing evidence. Perhaps they learn that you no longer enjoy something you used to. They adjust. Maybe you now care deeply about something they once dismissed. They listen. This is how you know they love the current you. And you do the same. Perhaps your soulmate changed. Maybe they became more serious. Perhaps softer. More independent. You learn. Two people cannot marry memories. They marry present humans. This is why the confession is only the first step. But maybe it is a beautiful one. Because for once, your soulmate is not hiding. They are willing to tell you what future they have been privately imagining. They are willing to risk your answer. That matters. Perhaps they have spent months fearing marriage because commitment seemed like losing control. Now they realize something. The greater loss may be living a life chosen entirely by fear. Marrying someone because family approves. Or avoiding marriage entirely because vulnerability feels dangerous. Neither is freedom. Freedom is knowing your truth and being responsible for it. Your soulmate may finally be moving toward that. And perhaps their truth is, "I want to see whether you and I still have a future." Not a guarantee. A choice. Beloved, if you hear their confession, do not feel pressured by the word marriage. You do not need to decide your entire life during one emotional conversation. Let marriage remain the direction, not the deadline. First, can we communicate? Can we trust? Can we build? Can we resolve conflict? Can we support each other? If those answers become yes over time, then marriage becomes far more meaningful. If not, it is better to know before promises are made. Your soulmate should appreciate this. Because perhaps they once wanted certainty instantly. Now they are learning the value of slow clarity. Maybe they say, "I don't need an answer tonight." Good. I just needed you to know that when people ask me about marriage, your name is the truth I keep avoiding. That may be enough. You breathe. Perhaps your eyes fill. Maybe yours was the same hidden truth once. You imagine them too. Perhaps you still do. You might say, I used to want that with you. Your soulmate's heart sinks at used to. Then you continue, I don't know what I want now. They must accept that. Perhaps they respond, then let me get to know you now. That could be the right answer. No pressure. No rushing back to the fantasy. Reality. Maybe the two of you begin again. Or perhaps the confession becomes the moment you finally say goodbye. Either way, it brings something your connection lacked for too long. Clarity. And beloved, that may be the true significance of your soulmate's marriage plans. It is not simply that they have picked a wedding date in secret. It is that conversations about marriage have forced them to stop hiding behind temporary thinking. Marriage asks, who do you want beside you when life becomes ordinary? Who do you trust enough to tell the truth? Whose growth can you support without becoming threatened? Who can you disagree with and still return to the table? Who do you want to keep choosing after the dramatic beginning is long over? Your soulmate keeps asking these questions. And your name keeps appearing. Now they have one responsibility. Tell you. Then let you answer. No assumptions. No pressure. No secret future planned without your consent. Perhaps your soulmate's confession will begin quietly. I need to tell you something about marriage. Then, my family has been talking to me. You listen. People have suggested other possibilities. Your heart tightens. Your soulmate continues, but every time I seriously imagine building a life with someone, I realize I still have unfinished truth with you. Pause. I don't know whether you want me anymore. Another pause. But I know I don't want to make a permanent decision while pretending you were never the person I imagined that future with. Then perhaps the words, if there is still anything here, I want to explore it properly. Not secretly. Not inconsistently. Properly. If there isn't, I need you to tell me, and I will respect it. That may be one of the bravest things your soulmate has ever said. Because this time they are not asking destiny to decide. They are asking you. And they are finally prepared to hear the truth. Beloved, remember your own power in that moment. You are not a prize waiting at the end of your soulmate's growth. You are a person with a future too. Ask yourself what you want. Not what you once wanted. Now. Does their presence bring peace? Have their actions changed? Can you imagine ordinary life together, not only dramatic reconciliation? Would you feel free inside the relationship? Can you trust them with your heart without abandoning your own boundaries? Those answers matter more than any romantic confession. And if the answer eventually becomes yes, then perhaps marriage really could become part of the story. But let it be a marriage built in daylight. No hidden feelings. No third parties. No family making decisions for you. No fear deciding who speaks first. Two people. Clear. Present. Choosing. That is the future your soulmate may finally be preparing to confess. And perhaps the most surprising part is that after all the delays, all the confusion, and all the times they tried to imagine another path, they are beginning to understand something very simple. They do not only want a wedding. They want a partner. They do not only want someone who loves them. They want someone whose love they know how to protect. They do not only want you to choose them. They want to become capable of choosing you with the honesty, steadiness, and courage you should have received from the beginning. Now the truth is approaching the surface. Your soulmate can keep their marriage plans inside their imagination. Or they can finally place the future where it belongs, in an honest conversation between both of you. And this time, beloved, what happens next should not depend on guessing what your soulmate wants. They are finally preparing to tell you.